Are we on air? I believe we're on air. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Midas Touch Book Club. A book where the leading experts reveal their top secrets in winning big in business and in life. So, as I said, in the past weeks, we've been meeting the authors of the book, The Midas Touch, and today we are talking to we're talking about my chapter that's called My Journey in the Search for Happiness. And so today we're missing partners. They might show up, but I know that I have people that are listening in and I wanted to start on time. So here I am. Guys, I hope you're there. You might be listening on YouTube. And I'm going to introduce you to my colleague, Joshua Crabb.
Hello, Jasmine. I am very pleased to be here with you today.
Thanks. So you were saying off air that you've run my chapter a couple of times.
Yeah, your chapter, it just rings so true about, the quest, the ultimate quest for happiness. And the fact that, like, how you went through your quest to find happiness it's not complex. It's very simplistic. And there's a theme I'm noticing with all of us throughout, all our talks, is that there's a theme with happiness and simplicity.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your chapter? I'd like to hear more than just the words that were on the page, but where did it come from within you? Or, is there something else you want to kind of share about it?
My chapter is basically my life. it's how it showed up for me, because like I'm rereading it and I'm like this is like how I went on in my life. I've always I guess wanted to be the best that I could be. I always hated to stress. I always hated that part. So whenever I would stress, I'd be like, okay, how can I stop stressing? I have to stop stressing. And so it really brought me to, like, I had these phases. I really, like, if you read the chapter, that's what it is. It's all phases. I had these phases, and the first phase was it's everybody else's fault. Never mind, it's always everybody else's fault. And I felt so helpless. I felt so I can't do anything, and I couldn't believe that I couldn't do anything. And so I started reading. I started reading about happiness and success and all of that. And it's only when I did my, like, I would read these things and it would, like, I would get some of it, but not, it was more on an intellectual level, like understanding. I really got the difference between understanding and really getting inside my body. It's kind of like, there was a class that we were taking, and it was about balance. When we were kids, as babies, we didn't know what balance was. And we probably understood it, like looking at these adults walking around. We understood it was possible, but we never got it until we walked, and all of a sudden we had balance and we were able to just walk, and And that's the difference. Like, there's the distinction for me. So as I was reading, I could get it intellectually. But one day I had an epiphany. I think we've had that conversation before, Joshua. You and I like the word epiphany. I had the epiphany that I really got it in my whole body. It was more than intellectual. So when I was reading the books, it was, like I said, intellectual. And then I went into a class, like an actual class, where they talked about transformation. And transformation is, in that respect, in the spirit that I'm going to speak about it, transformation is everything is the same, but everything is different. And you just can't explain it. It's a feeling. It's just, you just know. And once I did that class, after, I was kind of like, that's what they meant in that book, and that's what they meant in that book, and that's what they meant. Like, all of a sudden, it all started, coming up for me. And then I got a glimpse that maybe I had something to do with my happiness. Maybe it really didn't have anything to do with him or her. And as I explained in my chapter, I worked for a company for 10 years. I'm a businesswoman, and I worked in this company for 10 years. I went through, I got out right out of school, and I got into the company, and I went up started as a receptionist, then I was a clerk accountant, and then I was customer service, and then I was, sales coordinator, and then I was sales manager. I went through it all up. I grew up with these people, basically, and I love these people. Yet the last 5 years of working with them, I hated them, and it was all their fault in my world. I would wake up and I'd be like, don't tell me I gotta go to work. And then you guys have been around me. You know how I'm smiley, right? I'm constantly smiling, and I'm a happy-go-lucky girl. And for 5 years, I was miserable. I was I hated the drive there. I hated getting there. I hated that I had to say hi to these people. They were all so pathetic, And then I kind of when I left that job, I said, I'm just going to reflect a bit on who I am. So I started reflecting on who I am, and I made a list. I have a bedroom upstairs that I live alone, so that bedroom I don't use. So the whole wall, I put stickers. I was like, okay, so I'm a businesswoman. So this area of the wall, everything that I can do about business, I'm going to write. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm also a singer. So everything on this, I'm going to write, what I can do as a singer. And then, every hat that I had, everything that I knew, I put on the wall so that I could look at, have a view of who I was, And after a month, I hadn't chosen what I was going to do with my life. And now fear set in. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to have to go get a job again, So I went to get a job, and I started working with this person. And 3 months in, I'm not kidding, 3 months in, this guy that I also loved when I started working, all of a sudden, I just despised him. like exactly the same way that I despise these other people. And I was like, wait a minute. What is exactly the same in both situations? What's the predominant factor? And I saw it was me. The only thing that was different, the only thing that was the same, I'm sorry, was me. And then that's when I caught, wow. So really, Jasmine, what are you upset about? And I got that I was upset at them, because I wanted my own business. I wanted my own business, and I wasn't doing it because of them. And once I saw that, which makes no sense, right? You agree? It makes no sense.
Well, it actually makes more sense than we think, so.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess so. In that time, anyways, it made all the sense to me. It was kind of like, I want to start my business, but I can't because you're giving me a job. You know? So anyways, I told him, I said, listen, I can't be an employee. I have to be on my own. I have to start my own thing. That's really what I want to do. And I would like to continue working with you. And that's what I did. I continued to work with him, but I was on my own. I started my own business, and I put everything that I knew put on a business card. You know, I had this little business card, and everything I could do, I put on there. and it's been 14 years. So it's all the evolution of it all.
Yeah. But I think your journey is beautiful. I think it's very, it's more common, I think, than we let ourselves believe. But I mean, it's so funny because one of the things I've been thinking about is internal versus external, and even as much as like our conversations we have here. I absolutely love these conversations. I look forward to them every single week, all the time. I can't wait. And then I start questioning, why am I looking for these conversations? And am I looking for these conversations in the right way, or am I looking forward to them in a way that's feeds an ego type of thing? And I've realized, because with the happiness thing, and reading your chapter is just so spot on. Like every week, every chapter I read is just spot on with, seems like with what I need at that point. And the thing that has been really resonating with me for the last week is the answers that I'm looking for are nowhere out here. They're all in here, in here. That's where the answers are. And your chapter talks about, you're talking about your journey going through that. And the angry at work thing, I think that's funny looking back, because I've done that. And I've been like, well, these people are jerks. This is a blah, 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 why am, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Why do I have to sit here, and if I'm not happy, I can leave. I'm not forced to be there. And so that the thing that you're talking about, the one constant in the whole thing is me. It's you, So it's just watching, our own. If we made a movie of our lives, I think a lot of people's movies would be very, very similar. But it gets to the point to where, like, you made the choice. You're like, you listened to your intuition, you listened to yourself, and said, I'm going to start my own business. Dang it, because this is what, this is my calling, this is my drive, this is not, and by doing that, it's the kind of the irony of it is that people feel like if they work for a company, they're giving to that company. But when you're working for yourself, you're actually giving to a much greater, population of people by being true to yourself and giving and doing that. Now, not everybody is geared towards running their own business. Because if everybody ran their own business, then it wouldn't work, right?
No.
So, yeah,
But it was kind of like, Joshua, it was kind of like the thing that showed up for me was the phrase that kept rolling and rolling in my head when I was driving. And I'm telling you, 5 years, like I had to forgive myself. I really had to forgive myself for have taken that long. Like, Jasmine, hello, you know? But I guess I had to go through it. I guess I had to just go through it that way. And the thing that kept rolling is, was I put on this earth to be this miserable? Was I put on this earth to be this miserable? Like, that's what kept rolling. Like, I can't be put on this earth to be this miserable. It can't be. Come on. Like, there's more to it. There has to be more to it than just waking up in the morning, getting ticked that I have to get in my car, getting ticked that I have to, scream at the traffic, getting to the office and not be happy to see the people that are there. And, like, there was more to it than that. It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. And once I saw, I have to say this, like, because I sound like, these people I was working with are really bad, but they were fabulous. They were great. I loved working with this. Like I said, I grew up with them. I loved working there. I was doing, 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week there. I loved it. I grew up. I learned all of my English. I knew how to speak English, but because I was handling the United States territory, I learned a lot of English. I traveled across Canada, across the United States. I learned that I can be dropped in Arizona, rent a car, drive the car from Phoenix all the way to Tucson, all on my own. I'm a big girl, man. Like, I would have never known that. And once I got that epiphany that, oh my goodness, what a bitch. I'm going to just say it, okay? I was a bitch. And I took my boss out to lunch after I got that. And I took him to lunch. And whenever we would go out to lunch, he would buy, because I was entitled. You pay, right?
Right.
That's how it was. I'm so ashamed of saying it, but that's how it was. Once I got the epiphany, I said, no. That's not how it's going to go now. I'm going to pay, and I'm going to tell him. And I sat him down and I said, I want to thank you for everything that you did for me, because I really see it. I know I've been hard to deal with. I've had bad humor. I was, really not fun to deal with. And I want to thank you. I know everything you've done. And we were both crying at the table. Looked like dum-dums in the restaurant going, yeah, I just want you to know I really, really am happy. It's like, trust me, I had the ugly cry. So, yeah.
That's great.
It is.
Hi, Christopher.
Hi.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, honey. I just love your story because there's such humility and authenticity to it. And I agree with Joshua that it's more mainstream than we recognize, whether it's a job, a relationship, and you're just around during the day, people, people who are just angry, they don't really recognize it's not the world outside of them. That's just reflecting back in many cases, but it so much comes from us. And I have this remembrance of 20-something years ago, and I could tell you where I was standing, and I was going through something, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I wasn't conscious, because there's no one to blame. I can only look at me, and this is hard stuff. Like, I can't point my finger and this is going so many years back, and just going, oh, this is rotten. There's no one to blame but me, because that's right, the only one standing here with this perception, having this experience is moi. And it was, but I love it, because once you get it, you know, it's so refreshing to be able to take full accountability, and it's so humbling, you know, when you are, because that's what keeps us humble, and that's what keeps us authentic, and that's what keeps us real. And it's just beautiful, and that helps us see everything else in love, because we know when we're not, there's something in us we're not seeing in love. So, you know, that wonderful authenticity and self-compassion. And you're right, Jasmine, you got to forgive yourself for being so hard on yourself, or being so unattractive. There'll be times, not so much anymore, but I remember a few years ago, I would be like, somebody would say something, and I heard what was coming out of my mouth, and it felt like a judgment, because it's the way it is, it's the way I've been taught. And I'm like, I have to excuse myself for a moment. I'm feeling this is very unattractive. I'm sure I'm going to come back with like an apology in a few minutes, but I got to get my head on straight. And it's just so beautiful, you know. Because it really it defeats the ego, which is awesome. We want to disempower that ego, you know. And again, Jasmine, I just love your story. I just think, I mean, I have this, you know, it's hard because we love you so much and we love your smile, but it's almost a cartoon figure of you going around. And it cracks me up. I mean, like, it makes me laugh. Like, I can't even imagine it, because you just radiate so much, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. It's so funny because, you know, that cartoon was probably accurate. I remember when, like I said, I took this class. Okay, it was a class on transformation, and it really spoke to me. It really kind of like, yeah, it spoke to me, and I resisted. I resisted it for for a while, and I was definitely this. The type of person I was this. This was who I was, like, no joke. I'm telling you, here's Frankie. I had a line in like, you can't see any line in my forehead anymore. You can't even see, but I had a line here because I was constantly like this, like, because I was angry, and I was making some, you know, old stuff. What is it? What is the word I'm looking for? The rides. Wrinkles. I was making wrinkles. There you go. And it really, I don't know when it occurred. I really don't know when it all occurred, where this Jasmine showed up. But I like her way more than I like the other one. And I think that I did have a phase of, sorry, I've got a cat in front of me. He's jealous. I had a phase, and I still do. I still beat myself up. I have to admit, I still give myself a hard time. But I also get that it's all thought, and it's all past things that I've thought, and I'm catching myself more and more about the thinking that I have about stuff. I feel like sharing something, and I'm like, oh my God, Jasmine, why do you want to share this? But I'm going to share it, okay?
Share it.
We've got 4 viewers that are looking. Hi, guys. Hi, the 4 viewers I'm seeing at the bottom. I don't know who you are, but Hi. So probably people I know. So, okay, so I have this thinking, this thing that I grew up with about my body image. I've been told since I was a kid that I was fat. I think the first time somebody told me some comment about my body, I was 7. And it stayed with me. You know, I wasn't a thin kid, but I wasn't a fat kid. And so, hold on just a second. I'm sorry. Gloria has texted me. Gloria's sending me. Gloria, come in. I'm just going to tell her.
Come in and join us.
Come in, Gloria. Here's the link. Yeah, so I grew up with that. I grew up with I was fat. And I suffered. I cried. I cried and I cried. And it's been there all my life. My brothers, I'm going to say my older brother made me suffer so much about it. He would, I think my brother's a masochist. He would tell me I'm fat and he would laugh. Like, he would find any way that he could tell it to me. Then he would share it with his friends and his friends would share it with me. And then I grew up and then I started dating. And believe it or not, guys I was first dating with would tell me I'm not interested. You're too fat. Like, I'm telling you, constantly people would tell me I'm fat. And just lately, I should say just last week, just last week I had a conversation with someone about that. And I was saying, we're having a conversation about how thoughts, when somebody tells us something, we don't have to take it in and own what they're saying. So sometimes, you know, somebody can tell me, you know nothing about computers. And I'm going to be like, yeah, okay. Won't have any impact on me whatsoever, right? Because you guys know it's not the case, right? But
right.
Somebody tells me you're fat, and I'm like, what? You know, like, now that I'm older, I don't cry anymore. Back when I was a little younger, I would start bawling. What I got out of the conversation is that it's not really the words, you're fat, that make me sad. It's what my thoughts do with that word. So the second that I hear you're fat, what I'm really hearing, and it's instantaneous, I want you to know, it's not like I sit there and I'm thinking about that. It's like I've been thinking about it for so long that the second I hear fat, all of those thoughts come in with it in a flash. So I hear I'm pathetic. I hear I'm ugly. I hear you're never going to be thin. Nobody's going to love you. I hear so much out of it. And I just saw that last week out of a conversation with somebody, because somebody was telling me, somebody was saying, my mom told me I was stupid all my life, so I think I'm stupid. And the coach was saying, It's not because somebody told you all your life that you're stupid, because you think you're stupid. You know, like, you took that and you ran with it. Like, it's the truth.
It was programmed in between the age of 1 and 6, so it became that reality. When you actually break it down, it's 9 letters put together to make 2 words. You know, you're fat. And just so you know, in hearing, because you're like, when I hear this, when I first heard you say what you were going to say, I was always told I am hot. And I'm like, that's so fabulous.
I wish.
So now change it. Now, see, I'm giving you new data to log in. Use that new data, and I'm hot.
Well, you know what? I really, you know, after that conversation, because the girl who talked to me said, Jasmine, why is it that your weight is different from the fact that you're blonde? Like, it's just a characteristic. So you've got brown eyes, you've got blonde hair, and you're at a level on the scale where people are going to say you're fat, or you've got this body image thing. You've got this body, and it means nothing. That's what I got, that it was all of this stuff that I was carrying with me, you know? Like, I was carrying that with me.
Let me tell you, that stuff weighs a lot.
It does. It does weigh a lot. And once you see it, then you can do something about it. But before this conversation, I didn't know. Like, and I've talked about this before. You guys have to understand, I've talked about this before. You know, I've addressed this. I've been wanting to know what the heck is my problem, you know? And I refuse to do diets because I really don't believe in diets. I think that I had so much thinking about it that starting to think of eating well was kind of like too much for me. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's how it showed up. That's how it was for me.
But you know, sweetheart, it's so pertinent. That was so empowering for you to share, and I know we're happy you did. But it's no different than your friend that you were having the conversation with, and the message, you know, that they were told that they were stupid, or somebody says you'll never amount to anything, or we can go right down to prosperity. Money doesn't grow on trees. These are all someone else's belief systems that hold no fabric of truth to them. Only we in our thoughts bring truth to them and bring them to life. But when it's repeated, guess what? We become that. That's that whole idea of unwinding that and deleting it, and whatever you use, tapping, I love you, I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you, of course, you know, hypnosis tapes, subliminal tapes, positive affirmations, and it takes work, and all of a sudden it becomes uncomfortable for someone. Let's say they get a compliment at the job, and then they mess up like 4 times because they're not used to it, because they were told they'd never be good at anything, right? Or, you know, you have a hard time taking a compliment because you were said that, you know, you have this negative body image, and you're told, wow, you're beautiful, and you're like, oh, go on, you know, like, no, come on, that's not true. And, you know, it's like starting to own it, and when we start to own it and say, wow, thank you for that compliment, or thank you, I've been working really hard at work because I know I can succeed, it's uncomfortable, right? Because we're actually changing our data, our response to it, and now our reality. And I always tell people, you know, we have the transformation of the butterfly, and it goes in the the caterpillar goes in the chrysalis, and then it comes out. It's this beautiful butterfly, right? But I always tell people, I always ask people, how comfortable do you think that caterpillar is when he's transforming into that chrysalis? Like that is like he's completely transforming everything. Like he drops his skin, and I don't think he's real comfortable, you know. But he allows the flow, and then look, the scenery is the same, but now he's this beautiful butterfly, and he gets to look at it from all different perspectives, and it's fabulous. And I think you're fabulous, Jasmine.
Thank you. I'm happy that you talked about owning it, because one of the things that I did in all of this is owning the fact that I had bad thoughts. Like, you know, it's funny to say, but honestly, that was one of the things that I would hide. Not just to others, but to myself. Like, I wouldn't own them. I wouldn't, like, yeah, I just, it was kind of like I was rejecting some part of me. And because I was rejecting this part of me, I was not being me. So accepting that I could have those thoughts and I didn't have to act on them. I could just say, oh, look, here I go again, you know, and just be like, yeah, but I don't choose to go there anymore. You know, I used to be very angry, and I used to be mean, and I just don't do that anymore. And I was angry and mean because I wasn't owning myself. You know, I wasn't owning every single part of me. And more, the more I get older, or the more I work on myself, the more I talk with people like you about stuff that matters and stuff instead of stuff that doesn't matter, the better I feel.
Well, I think it's listening and stuff too. There's a lot of things that as we talk about this, just like, you know, what Christopher said, things start popping into my mind, and I remember, you know, start remembering things and stuff too. And acknowledging this is huge. I mean, that's what, you know, we as a person to grow and release, we have to acknowledge what we need to grow and release from. And then, you know, one thing that there's a word that Christopher said that is, it's kind of like my mantra. It's like allow. You've got to allow it. Allow it to go. Address it. Hey, you know what? Thanks. You know what? I understand where this thought process is coming from, but I'm just going to go ahead and allow you to leave. I don't need to address you right now. You're fine. Thank you for stopping by up here, but you're just here. Now you're gone. I love you. I love me. You know, those types of things. And there was something that, it was one of Joe Vitale's workshops or something. I'm trying to remember where it came from. But it was about mirrors. And you can look, if you go into people's houses, that you can tell a lot about them by the number of mirrors that they have in their house. Because a lot of people don't like what they see in the mirror, whether they think that they're fat or whether they think they're ugly or they have a lot of self-loathing type of thing. They remove the mirrors because that way they don't have to look, or they just don't have them, and they're not looking saying, I love you. So, you know, one of the things that I've told, you know, people, and I tell myself, is look in that mirror. Look, like really, really look at yourself in that mirror, and you tell yourself, damn it, I love you. And I really, really love you. And then all these other things are just things. They're just words. And that's all they are, is words. And the words just kind of dissipate. They go away. And you start to realize that, well, these are just words. And the people, and go a little deeper, the way I approached it, I was very emotional. I'm a very emotional person. That's who I am. I tried to stop that for so long in my life, and it was torture on myself to do that. Then I realized I'm emotional. If you don't like it because I'm emotional, that's not my fault. That's on you. That's not on me. And when you start to go through this process of the reprogramming and the really loving yourself, and Jasmine, you are a beautiful soul. Oh my gosh.
I'll second that.
That person, this one, that was never you. That wasn't you. That was that caterpillar stuck in the cocoon. It's like, oh damn it, let me out. Let me get my wings out. And that's where you're at. And do we revert back? Of course we do, because when you're, 1, 2, 3, 4, as long as you can remember, if you were told, don't eat chocolate, right? I'm just not even going to say any of the bad stuff, but don't eat chocolate. Chocolate's bad for you. You were told that from 1 to 7, and now if you're 40 years old and you find out that chocolate is the healthiest thing on the planet, you're still going to have it in your head programmed saying, well, I can't eat chocolate. Chocolate's bad. Well, now we know that you can change, you can go through that metamorphosis of a continual growth into a butterfly. And it's funny because I wish that it were, I'm a caterpillar, I'm a butterfly. Go like that. But I really see it as the wings are still going to be unfolding your entire life. And are there times it's going to sneak back into your head and you're going to go, oh, crap, oh, I'm miserable, oh, yeah, the sun's not shining, that's my fault, things like that, and those wings are going to curl back up a little bit, but they're not gone. Those wings aren't gone, and they're just going to keep growing and growing and growing. See, your cat agrees with me. But just showing yourself love. And the other part that I have discovered as well is that those people that say those things to you they're deflecting. They're not really meaning anything to you. They're deflecting off of themselves and their own self-hatred, their own, those own negative things that have been put through their heads, their own things that they're going through. And it's a whole nother thing when you can start saying, when somebody says something to you, go, you know what, thank you, I love you. I understand that, and try to show them the love, because they're pushing that and deflecting their own internal anguish onto you.
Well, I
So true, Joshua. So true. I'm a master at doing that. I'll say to people, "Wow, I am so sorry that you're having a day where you're so off or you're hurting, but I see you only as love." And they're like, "But I'm trying to tell you, like, flip off, But I love you. I won't take it." And it's really sincere because I see past it, Yep. And I'm thinking, if this person had been loved beautifully and unconditionally and unfragmented when he was little, he would have that, or she would have that. And that, that's what I always strive to do and be, as more clear within me, so that I can be more clear of a vessel for a reflection of love back to that person who is trying to, I always say, you don't need to take their oil slick, like, it's their oil slick. It doesn't have to spew onto you, but we can help clean it too.
Yes, no, that's another step, absolutely.
Well, what's appeared for me as I started to understand that there are times that I listen to my thoughts. I believe they are all true. Since I've gotten that, and that's actually a principle. It's a principle that everybody does it. Everybody gets these thoughts that they believe. I'm having a loving cat today. As soon as I got that, I was able to be more compassionate towards people now. I was able to be more compassionate with them and get that it's not about me. Really, it's not about me. Anything that's being said is not about me. And sometimes I forget, of course, but most of the time I remember. And that has served me quite a bit in my relationships. If I look at just my relationship with my father, because my father has this... Can you see this? The cat's playing with the necklace. My father, you know, I used to argue with him a lot because of the stuff that he would say that would generate a lot of thinking on my end. And now it doesn't generate a lot of thinking, and I'm noticing that he's got a lot of thinking. And that has allowed me to let him be. Like, because before I'd be like, oh, is he going to stop being angry? Why is he talking like that? Why is he saying it like this? And why is he doing that? And why is he... Well, he's doing what he's doing because he is who he is, and that's it. There's, you know, he can do whatever he wants. And I get that I love him, where in the past, all that thinking that I believed, not that I didn't love him, but I didn't like him. You know, like I didn't like the things that would occur around him. Now I'm just like, he's my dad and I love him and it's fine. You know, everything is fine. Just like my mother, and so I feel free. You know, I feel like I'm the one in charge. I'm the one who reacts. I'm the one who says what I say, and it's not anybody's fault. And so my relationships with others are better.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, and what I also got, which is coming to me, is that it also occurred inside conversations. Like, I had to dare to say what was there for me. I had to dare, you know, once I accepted that I had these thoughts, I had to dare to let them come out of my mouth in front of somebody else. And that has helped me quite a bit with validation and perception. You know, I could, like, right before we talked, actually, right before we went online, Joshua and I were talking about my dog, and we were talking about, I was just like, I see him a certain way, and I wanted him to look at him so that we could have a conversation about his perception, just to see the difference, you know? And it all occurs inside a conversation. I remember back when I was working at that company for 10 years, I wanted to write the best letter possible. I wanted to find the way that I was going to type something and have the right words so they could get my emotions. And, you know, like, because I was in sales and I had to, you know, I had to be able to manage a large amount of people, and that letter had to be perfect so that all these people could understand what I wanted to say. So I wanted to reach as many as possible. Now, I want to talk to people as much as possible. Now, I had this shift where I'm like, everything occurs inside a conversation. Because when I read something, well, I'm reading it with my tone of voice. I'm reading it with my background. I'm reading it with my stories. And if something occurs in what I'm reading, I can make up whatever I want to make up. But when I'm talking on the phone or I'm talking face to face, I can go validate. Wait, did I just heard this? Is that what you meant? And then something new is created. And I think that's also awesome. So talking, like I suggest to anybody to just talk to people, say the real stuff. Like how many times are we just, okay, how am I going to say this so that this one's not angry, but I want to know. And like, once we're caught up in the how to say it in the proper way so that we won't, it's like.
Fortunately, I am known for not having that problem.
That's great.
I know, but however, it's practicing communicating your authentic truth without fear how it will be received. So you're not attached to an outcome, but you're more working on your truth. And it's people always will be, I get invited everywhere and we know I'm reclusive. And I had one gal really pushing me to go to her art opening. She's a fabulous artist. And she says, you can come. And I said, I might. She goes, no, you can come. And I said, well, I'm capable of coming, but I don't know that I will be coming. Well, just tell me you will. And I said, I can't tell you I will. I know that is what you would love to hear. And I would love to be there to support you. But I live 24/7, helping others. So I have no idea what's going to be happening next Friday. I have no idea. And that's one of my biggest ones because people love to nail me down and I'm not nailable. Because I don't know how I'm going to feel when I wake up tomorrow. Maybe I'm not feeling like going out to a little soiree, I can't. So, but it's really being genuine and honest. I'm just a strange little fruit that way, But a lot of people will say yes, and they'll go to be with their friends when they really didn't want to. They were tired, they had a bad day at work, but they felt obligated to. And so now here's my question. If they're there and energetically they don't really want to be there, and in their head, in their presence, they're not really there, what good was that? Like, I'd rather have somebody cancel on me and say, I'm just not. But people will do it because they don't want to disappoint someone else. But the more authentically we live, then the more that spreads out. And then people become more understanding and compassionate for one another because we're becoming more real with who we are instead of the blind leading the blind, per se, or just doing this to make somebody else happy. Because ultimately it doesn't make them happy if you're not really in joy in that present moment that you're sharing with them.
Hey guys, I have a question. See, I activated the Q&A section. So I have a question from Gloria. When someone is trying to reinvent themselves in a new career, what are the first steps you tell them to do? That's a very good question.
Great question, Gloria.
That's a great question. So I've never been asked that question, but I've done it. So I think that all I can really point to. I'm sorry?
I said they could start by reading the chapter.
Yes, they could read the chapter, definitely. That's a good point. Well, the first thing I started to do is I started to get to know me. Like I was explaining in the beginning, and maybe Gloria that you didn't see that part, but I was explaining that I kind of like looked at everything that I could do. Like, what are the things that I could do? Like, what am I good at? And I wrote everything. I was being ridiculous, but I did. I wrote everything. Okay, so I can sing, I can write, I know websites, I know this, I know that. Like, I wrote everything, and I kind of like categorized them into the different things. And once I did that, I looked at what are the things that I like to do. And you know what showed up for me? What showed up for me is that there are things that I knew how to do, and once I saw I knew how to do them, I didn't have to do them. I don't know if it makes sense, but it's kind of like there were these things, like I'm going to say doing websites. Okay, I knew how to build websites, and I put that on my business cards in the very beginning. But as I worked with it, I saw, yeah, but it's not because I know how that I should do it. And that's kind of like the inner work that showed up for me. It was like a realization of what I really wanted to do and what I was doing. Like I had a conflict in between those things. So I had to look at what did I really want to do. And what I really want to do is talk. I want to talk with people so that they could get that they already know everything about themselves. They already know this. The only thing that's in the way is thinking, is a lot of thoughts about a lot of different things, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit to that too, because you hit on some very key points. I think one of the first questions to ask is why. Ask yourself, why are you wanting to go to a different career, go to a different job, do something different? Because if you're going to go do something for the reasons you did the last thing, you're still going to get the same results of what you got on the last one. So, yeah, you may be really good at, pulling pears off of trees. That may be the thing you are the absolute best at doing. But if you don't like doing it, why would you do it? Well, I was really good at pulling off pears, so I love apples. They're beautiful. I could go pull apples off of trees. Well, why are you wanting to do something different? I absolutely agree. You should follow your heart. You should do the things that you love. But I think you have to ask yourself the question and be completely honest with yourself. What do I love? And that's getting to know yourself as well, too. And it's going to go back to that, okay, let's reflect, let's look at ourselves, and the whole making a list of all the things that you love. I think it'd be a good idea to list out the things that you maybe didn't love. The things that, and why did you not love them? Oh, I didn't love picking pears. Well, it was actually because the farmer was a real a-hole, and I didn't like working for him. So there's a lot to making those decisions, and I'll tell you, I have switched jobs many times. Many times. So people look at me like, how does anybody ever hire you to do anything? I'm like, I don't know, because when I decide I need something, it presents itself, and I get what I need. And so there's just, when switching professions, switching to something new, I really think it's important, and I go through this, as to why am I switching this? And, it can go back to, you know, when you're miserable at some place, were you miserable because of the place or were you miserable because of you? And so making sure that you're finding a new position or finding a new career or a new path or something that, well, there it is, path. Is it part of your path? And, going through that and listening to your intuition, truly listening to your intuition is very, very important because you are being shown your path. Whatever, religion, spirituality, anything you want to believe, you are being shown your path. You just need to listen to yourself, listen to and go down that path. And I'll give you an example of things like in the past, not that long ago, for some reason, I went and worked at a car dealership to sell cars. I have no idea why I was to do that at that time. I met some very great people. I was there for a grand total of 30 days, met some great people, and realized that part of my path is it interweaves with other people's paths and things too. So if you're doing something and you're saying, well, this isn't me, this isn't the right thing for me, well, trust yourself, first of all, but second of all, don't blame yourself for doing something because whether it was your path, you are on a path, and that path is behind you now. So beating yourself up over something that happened in the past doesn't make any sense. So following down, I love the idea. You list things out. What do I love? What do I want to do? Obviously, Jasmine, I'm right there with you. I love to talk. I love to talk. And a quick little personal note on that is that this other company that I'm contracted for right now, I laid out, plans for, running the division and things like that. And part of those plans were we need to have a weekly phone call where we discuss things happening. Well, I got told by the CEO that, oh no, everything's got to be an email. I don't have time to do a weekly call. Well, okay, good for you. Good luck with your company, because that's not how whether it's personal, whether it's business, whatever it may be, the art of conversation is something no one should be afraid of. And, I'm circling this back around because it is very pertinent to what Gloria is asking about too, but you have got to be able to at least participate in a conversation because you will put emotion into any email, any letter, anything you write. You will read emotion into it. Not saying you put emotion into it, but I may receive an email from Jasmine and be like, God, geez, Jasmine, why do you gotta be so mean? When in Jasmine's perspective, she was just being matter of fact and laying stuff out, and there was nothing behind it. Now, could Jasmine and I had a conversation, a very quick one? Well, probably not with the way the two of us are, but could we have had a conversation that said, hey, are you able to do this, this, and this? Sure. Boom, we're done.
Yeah, there's a lot of, there's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of room for that in emails, especially text. And I think one of the greatest things for business is face-to-face, one-on-one. Go out and speak to people. Get feedback. Look at the other people in that area of whatever you're looking at, and as far as applying for work, and be patient. I have so many clients that I step through their branching off into something new, and first of all, a lot of it's getting over fear, right? So that's when the list, like Jasmine, you were saying, really helps. Fear of change, the fear if they can do it, or will they make enough money doing it, or and then it's sort of, I love, Joshua, what you said so much. That intuition is so important. But everybody wants everything really fast. And so you've got to learn how to be kind, loving, and patient with yourself as you go through the process of reinventing yourself into, your own business. Because a lot of people say, I just had a client call last week. Well, we tried this and I think we're going to close it down. I go, you tried it for a month and you're not losing money. You're covering the salary of the person working it. So that means you're making money. So I said, that's better than most people who open a business in the first year. Okay. So there's a lot of, write your lists, patience, intuition. Don't expect it right away, but listen to that intuition. Listen to that flow, like, and don't box yourself in. This is what I'm looking at, and this is what I'm creating, and I know I can create it, and it's going to be bigger than I can even imagine it to be.
Yeah, and like we talk about listening to our intuition, and I'm aware that we passed the hour now today, so I think we're gonna have to close up. For our friends here.
An hour for the wolves, could you
say? So, but when we're talking about intuition, I know that it's something that's not easy to identify. Like, yeah, but like I know somebody that's listening to me right now that's probably going, yeah, but how do I know it's my intuition? There's this kind of thing that we don't know. And I think that simply put, your intuition is the feeling you're feeling in that moment. So if you're feeling bad about it, or if you're having some uncomfortable feeling about it, I think that that's your intuition telling you, don't do anything right now. Like, whatever you're doing, just don't take any action. And when you're feeling good about it, when you've got this feeling of action, of wanting to do something, then that's your intuition to say, go! That's kind of like the green light for it. So that's how I go. That's how I play with it. I don't know how you guys do it.
I just listen. I move forward without any, and it's hard though, because you're right. You got to release that fear and that doubt. But fear and doubt is self-created. So if I'm hearing, you know what, you're going to write a book. You're going to be part of something huge in writing this book, right here. You know what? If I listened to my fear and my doubt, then I never would have done this. I never would have met you guys. I would have been, doing what I did. But it's one of those things. It's a leap of faith, but it's not. You're not alone in your leap of faith. You're actually. I don't even particularly care for the phrase leap of faith, but it's something people understand because you're actually being guided. It's like being lifted off the cliff and set down on the, on the pathway you're going down. So it's the leap of faith part of it is a leap of faith away from your own fear, your own doubt, which is something that had been programmed into you for ages and ages and ages, and it's a matter of releasing it. And the one thing I would say too is that if you have, like, you have this idea that comes to you, and it's like, I'm going to switch careers, and you have that idea, and then all of a sudden you get scared. You need to ask yourself, why am I scared? What is causing this? Is this my own ego that's causing this? Am I worried somebody's going to make fun of me if this fails? Oh, God, I might fail. So what? So what? By failing, you learn so much, and you never truly fail.
Well, what did Edison say about the light bulb when they asked him, how did it feel to fail 100 times before you got the light bulb right? And he said, no, it just took me 100 tries to figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and they talk about, I see these articles all the time that says, the 7 most important things that highly successful people think about and do. The articles are interesting to me, but I don't see it as these are the highly successful people, because we are all highly successful people when we allow ourselves to be that way. So when you read those articles, and you see those things because they're everywhere. You are part of that. You are a highly successful person. Gloria, you're very highly successful. You know, just when you're moving out and you're doing things, just know that. Trust your intuition. When you have your fears, when you have your doubts, write down why. Why am I having this fear and doubt? Is it something that came to you that you didn't even think about, or was it something that was part of your programming from the past? Because you're right, Jasmine, when you're going forward and you're seeing all these red lights, all these, blockades coming up, there's probably a good reason that you should wait at that point. But if you are creating those, then that is something that you need to look and release.
Right, and what would be really helpful, of course, we'll get back to the basics of all of this, is when those come up, stop. Just like Joshua said, stop and say, okay, wait a second, that's not going to serve me in creating anything fabulous in this moment, so let me just stop. Let me just clear them, release them, tap them out, whatever, recognize them if I need to analyze them. Don't let them run wild, bring them in, reel them in. Hello, what's your name? Where'd you come from? You're released, okay? You're banished from my kingdom. I don't have rental space for you right now. I'm creating something else, okay? Like, no apartments up here available right now. And then just to take the pressure off and go into that space of dreamland. A lot of my work has to do with dreams, and we're always in a dream, whether it's right now, when we're asleep, when we're meditating, when we're visualizing. And it's a very powerful time. And just sort of breathe into a small meditation and go into the visualization and the feeling of what would it feel like if that you were living this highly profitable, prosperous, successful, new venture. What would it feel like? What does it look like? What are the emotions? I always go into gratitude with, Miss Percy, finally. I always go in gratitude with that because I'm like, oh my gosh, then I'll have to employ someone, which will be fabulous because they're going to get money and they can take Christmas presents home or to their family or whatever, do extra things. So it's always fun. I like to wrap it all up get it all into one neat little thing. And that's really fun because you've sprinkled it with gratitude, you visualized it, you felt it. You've literally changed the vibration in your body when you went on that little journey from fear back to excitement.
Okay, guys, I just want to let you know, Gloria says, this question is being asked not for me, but for so many that are forced to find a new career due to negative economic conditions. So many are forced to change careers now. So that was the point of the question.
Yeah, I kind of intuitively felt that that's where she was coming from. She was asking not for herself, but for many, many. And I hear that all the time. But, as I tell people, money is money, but it's energy. Abundance and prosperity is energy. And, yeah, it is economic times, but you can buy in and own that reality or create your own reality that you own. And it takes work. It's not McDonald's. You're not going to go, not many people are, probably Joe is, but presto manifesto, like I'm going to create it and in the next minute it's created because so many people are still clearing the subconscious negative beliefs, the lack of self-esteem, the lack of belief in themselves, the fears, the out there world of the economic crisis or whatever is going on in that world. I don't know. But it's steps, and I think even in Gloria's questions, what steps you would take, and to be patient and kind through the steps. And I think Jasmine just starting with the list is so fabulous. But Joshua brought in a lot, the intuition and so much, and releasing. Don't get stuck in the fear. There's just so much, and it's hard to. We've already gone way over. Wrap it up because it's an ongoing conversation. Because each one of these little aspects have like a full day seminar around them. You know, we probably throw 20 out there.
Yeah, I think that we could definitely, those of you who are listening and those of you who will listen in the future, if you have any questions, if you have anything that you'd like us to discuss, it would be fun if you guys could just put comments and let us know, because we intend to create these things and answer your questions. If you want to ask me specifically a question, I created a page, a Google Doc, where you can go ahead and ask your question. It's at Ask Jasmyne. You see my name here, Jasmyne. AskJasmyne.theinspirist.com. When you go there, and I'll put the link inside this event, and you'll be able to go ask your question. I want to say next week we have Gloria J. York, who is also a co-author, of course, and she will be with us next week. We will be clarifying the problems that we had. We talked yesterday. I don't know how come she wasn't able to talk, so I can't wait to talk to you again, Gloria, to find out. I'm just going to read her last questions. There are things some might suggest take a job that might be beneath your abilities, but at least it is providing a salary. And also, you never know who you will meet that may offer you a position within their companies upon meeting you and see you work. It's all about networking and constantly putting yourself out there around many people as possible. So that's what she was saying. Yeah. I also want to come back to the intuition thing. I want to share one last thing before we leave, which is the nature of thought. So the nature of thought is that it disappears. So if you're ever feeling, your feeling comes from your thought. So if you're feeling anxious and you're feeling stress or you're feeling fear or things like that, it's because there's a thought or multiple thoughts that are going on right now, and they are generating this feeling. And if you can be with that feeling, just be with it. Don't give it any energy. And when I say don't give it any energy, I mean don't feed it. Don't go, I don't want this. I don't want it. Go away. How can I make it go away? That's just giving it more energy. Just let it be. Notice where it is. And it will dissipate. If we think of it, okay, let's say we go to a show and we're going to see Justin Timberlake, and we went to see the show and we came back and man, Justin was so hot and he was so great. So that's the next day, right? The next day right after, it's like, oh my God, Christopher, he was awesome, right? I can't believe it. And then the next day you ask me, and I'm like, yeah, he was great. He was awesome. I really liked him. And you ask me again in 6 months, yeah, I love that show. That's the nature of what happens to us as human beings. We get these things, and some of them are intense, and then all of a sudden they stop being intense, and then they just fizzle. That's the nature of it. So if we can be with the fact that when we're having a stress and we're having some fear, we can be with the fact that, okay, that's a thought. It's not going to do anything with it. It's going to go away. It will go away. And then you'll be able to think properly and clearly after you've let it go. So that's when I say, if you're feeling, Don't do anything because you're just going to add to it. Just wait till it passes, and then you'll have a clarity inside. Okay? So that's it. Any final words, guys?
I gotta run. I love you guys. Thank you.
Love you, Lady Christopher.
All right, love you guys.
Love you. Take care. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Can't wait till next week.
Same here. Bye.
Bye.